Welcome back to the EA Crypto channel. My name is Enrique, and I hope that you're all having a fantastic holiday season. All right, so let's jump into it. This is episode 29 of the weekly upcoming preview. We're going to talk about BTC and the alts, how I see things playing out over the next week or weeks to come. We're also going to talk about Solana. Solana had an absolutely horrible, and I do mean horrible week. The news could not have been worse, and we're going to cover that. The price action wasn't affected that much. I think it only dropped about 8% or so. But the news is really bad. So I think Solana is it's just looking really, really bad for the Solana community. And then we're going to talk about a couple of examples of things not to do during the next bull run. I know it seems like it's never going to happen and like crypto might be dead, but sooner or later we will get a bull run. So I just wanted to cover an example of some of the tokens not to invest in the next bull run, because this is something that's not talked about enough. Yes, everything goes up during the bull run, but not everything goes up by the same percentages. And I wanted to cover some examples of tokens that I believe you should avoid in the next bull run because they won't give you the same returns. All right, guys, so let's get into it. We have a ton to cover. All right, guys, before we get started, I do all my trading of shorting crypto and trading on leverage. I never use a lot of leverage, and I strongly suggest that you don't, because you will get wrecked if you over leverage. But I do it all on Bitget, and they're having this really cool kind of Christmas special. I think there's 3 days left. I wasn't able to tell you guys about it earlier in the week because I was traveling for the holidays. But go check out the link that I have below the video description. They're doing all these cool things. There's prizes. There's you can do all these spins to try to maybe win a signed Messi jersey. A lot of cool prizes. And again, it's a great place to trade. So use my link below. A great way to support the channel. And it's all pretty self-explanatory. All right, guys. So go check that out. If you have, you don't have to be a new user to do this, or even existing users. So if you already have a Bitget account, go ahead and use that link, and that way you can have access to all those cool prizes. All right, guys, so before we talk about BTC, check this out. Ben Armstrong, BitBoy Crypto, with all his, I think he has 1 million followers on Twitter. He did a poll. It's at 27,375 votes. And apparently 36% of people, 35.9 to be exact, believe that Bitcoin has bottomed. BitBoy himself believes that crypto has bottomed. I do not agree with him. He has already called the bottom, I think, twice this year, if I remember correctly. He was wrong both times. So yeah, I mean, this is why it's important to follow TA and really try to think about how the macro is affecting a risk-on asset like BTC, so you don't end up like, 36% of people are going to get wrecked still, because we most likely have not found a bottom. So nothing has changed. I know I sound like a broken record, but nothing has changed. We're still headed towards 13.7, 13.5, 13.9-ish. There's still no reason to believe that we're not headed that way, right? And that's just technically just looking at the charts, looking at the indicators. If on top of that you put the macro into it, even worse, the ECB, the European Central Banks, now they're going to kind of take an approach like Powell and the Fed did, where they're going to be, tightening a whole lot themselves and increasing rates. So look, guys, it just doesn't look any better. And this recession is coming. It is coming in 2023. It's Fed induced. And that's why it's so easy to predict, right? And recession should not be predictable, but this one's predictable, right? Because it's Fed induced. So there's just no reason to think that we've bottomed. I mean, there isn't. I'm sure that there's some statistical probability that's decent stating that we did bottom, but I don't think that we have bottom. So what's going to happen next? Look, guys, I mean, bottom line, if you look at BTC here in the 4 hour, okay, there's a low, a higher low, and another higher low. So that actually looks pretty good. So BTC looks like it's probably headed towards the next level, which is 17,258-ish, maybe a little higher, maybe a little lower. But that is where I believe that Bitcoin is headed. And if Bitcoin does do that, then how is that going to affect BTC? I mean, BTC, Ethereum. Well, Ethereum is going to do what BTC is doing. We know that. Not exactly the same, but for the most part. And if you look at Ethereum, well, if you look at this trend line that we drew back in November, it's still very much real. So even if it were to hit that trend line, say BTC does head up here to 17,260-ish, then Ethereum is probably going to kind of do the same. And that would put Ethereum at around 1270-ish when it hits this trend line. I don't know. Can it hit it tomorrow? Well, then it would be like 1274. Will it hit in a week? Then it'd be like 1271. So it's going to be around 1270-ish is where I think that Ethereum is most likely going if Bitcoin does what it's going to do. I just think that it's really funny. If we look at Ethereum on a 30-minute, look at that. It looks like a stable coin this weekend and during this holiday period. I mean, just hilarious. I mean, it's just these markets have been so dead and liquid with the holidays, no one trading. I wasn't doing much. So yeah, it's pretty funny to see that Ethereum basically acting as a stable coin. So that's kind of how I see things going. I think that Ethereum and Bitcoin are going to be testing those numbers that we just discussed. And then, yeah, I mean, for example, if Ethereum rejects off that 1270, which it most likely will, because it's going to be the first time it tests that trend line in a while, then yeah, that just presents an easy short. Easy short. Again, I do all my shorting on Bitget. Now, if it somehow crosses that trend line and then tests it back as support and bounces off that, then yeah, then you have my attention. Now we're talking 1351 maybe. But until that happens, I think that will be a fantastic, and I do mean fantastic short opportunity at around 1270. So that's how I see things going for Ethereum, and of course the alts will just follow what Ethereum's doing. And that's how I see things going for probably the next week or so. But it's just really hard to time it. Like, when will Ethereum, if it does test this trend line, when will it do it? I mean, anything's possible. I mean, it's not that far away, right? 54 points, 55 points. That is not that far from now. That's maybe like a 5% rise. It's not a big deal for Ethereum or for Bitcoin. So it could happen any day now. So I think we're going to have, after a very dead last number of days, I think we're going to have an exciting week up ahead. All right, so I had to put on my headset because I noticed while editing the first part of the video, it didn't sound that great without the headset. I need to get a better microphone, Jesus. All right, guys. So, and yeah, this one doesn't even work anymore. It's just there for show, I guess. I've been using the other microphone. But anyways, let's talk about Sol. Why was it such a horrible week for Sol? Well, pretty simple. DGods is officially leaving Sol, headed to Ethereum. Utes NFT, which is also pretty big. I'm going to show you a visual. Is moving to Polygon. So those two combined are awful. If you look at this tweet right here from Jacob 0xb.sol. I mean, look at that. That just gives you a very good visual of what a big piece of the volume for Solana was with these two projects. So just brutal. And look, before all this happened with Sol, people were still complaining about Sol quite a bit. One of the reasons why I was super bullish on Near before this whole FX thing was because of the fact that I thought that maybe a lot of projects would move from Sol to Near, or new projects, when thinking, well, should we go to Near or Sol? They both use the same programming language, Rust. They would go to Near because apparently creating and building on Sol, according to many developers, was like eating glass, which sounds incredibly painful, right? So things were already bad for Sol. And look, guys, I think it's becoming pretty apparent. Sol was just this big old VC money grab to get me, the retailers, right? I've been, very vocal about being careful with money grabs with some of the smaller DeFi projects that are clearly just money grabs, just trying to separate you from your money. This was done on a much bigger level with these VCs. So is Sol going to get up to $260 again? Probably not. And it's not looking good for Sol. So looking at a Solana chart, let's check that out real quick. Yeah, so I mean, this was it, right? So the top was 267 to be exact. And it's just not looking good at all. I mean, this just looks like something that should be avoided at all costs. And how low can Solana drop? So that's where it gets pretty interesting. I think that there's a number of different ways that you can look at this. But it is really pretty tough, and a lot of it's going to depend maybe on new narratives or the news. But just looking at it from a technical analysis perspective, right here, I mean, this is it right here. This has many points of confluence. $4.35. $4.35 is where technically Solana should go. Will it happen? I don't know. before 35. And I'm not even saying that holds. I mean, this could be done. It could be gone. I mean, think about it, guys. Put yourself in the shoes of a new developer, a new project. Why the hell would you want to go to Solana with everything that's happened? The bad rep. Sorry, I had the hiccups today. The bad rep. The how hard it is to create there. The fact that it has basically had so many issues with the community. Not just post, but pre all this FTX stuff. Think about the fact that it went down like 8 to 12 times. Like if it's blockchains are not supposed to go down ever. So just thinking about everything, I just don't see why anyone would want to build there or create a new project there or keep their project there unless they're somehow tied to this chain, which I understand it's very hard to move, but the two biggest projects just moved. So there you have it. So I think that Solana is done for. I really, really do. Will it truly be completely dead and go to zero? Probably not, right? There will always be something on it. Someone will always be building, but it just doesn't look good at all. And as far as, the price action, like I said, $4.35 makes a lot of sense to me. Now, will that happen for sure? Who knows? Maybe, maybe not. But that's kind of like how I see it. And we will see. We will see what happens in the next few weeks. But I'm not short on Solana. It's not one that I'm probably going to short. There's, I think, better options to short, which I think I've talked about. I've talked about Sand with the whole token unlock coming up. But maybe I will short Solana at some point again. I just noticed that Solana can go a little crazy. I think that there's been a lot of short squeezes with Solana where the interest just goes all the way with too many shorts, and then people are very focused on that. So I just think there's better assets to short that are going to be less vulnerable to a short squeeze. But yeah, if you do it on very low leverage, I guess then you have nothing to worry about, and 435 seems to be where Solana is going to go. So we'll see how that plays out. Okay, so to finish things off, let's talk about projects to avoid during the next bull run. There might be times when these charts could get really bullish, but as far as a whole, these are the types of charts and projects that I'm personally going to avoid during the next bull run. All right, so the first example that we're going to give is ICX. ICX is actually one of the first tokens I ever bought on Binance. It was like in 2017 when it first came out. And I think I got it like at $2 or something like that. I can't even remember, I can't even remember. I don't know why I said $2. It was less than that. But anyways, I remember writing it all the way up here. I still remember this night. It was right before its mainnet was going to go live. I remember it like it was yesterday because I couldn't believe how much money there was to be made with this token, this project that was supposed to be the next. It was supposed to be the Ethereum of South Korea. It's basically the narrative. It turned out to be a bunch of bull crap. But yeah, it was a fun ride. Unfortunately, I also took a lot of the write down with a lot of the tokens I never sold, thinking it would be the next Ethereum or the Ethereum of South Korea. So there were a lot of lessons learned with ICX. But what I wanted to show is that with ICX, okay, so we see this top right here, which is $13 on this site, $13.23. And then during the next bull run, in summer of 21, it got up to $3.22. And then earlier this year, last year, really, not this year, last year, it did kind of fizzle out around 273. So pretty clearly, this is one of those projects where it fits the mold. And we've talked about this on the channel before. Those that have been with me this whole year know, whenever you see a token and on its previous bull run cycle, it does a lower price at its height of that bull run, the previous bull run, that's like a no-go. That's just a clear no-go. And this chart illustrates that perfectly, right? It gives us a few different examples of that. So bottom line, ICX is a perfect example of that. I'm going to give you one more example, but really what I want you guys to do is just take this as a kind of something to apply when looking at other projects. I'm sure there's a couple of projects. We all have a couple of darlings that we never let go of or that we keep in touch with. And, that that we kind of think, well, maybe something will happen, maybe the narrative will happen, and this project that I'm still keeping an eye on, I still keep in touch with it via Discord or Twitter or whatever. Maybe now will really take off. But I think this is a good example how that just doesn't seem to ever happen. So EOS is going to be the other one. It's just, again, a perfect example. It went up all the way over here back in 2017. 18. It went all the way up to almost $23. It was a big hype project. Had one of the biggest ICOs ever. And then during the next bull run, I guess it was last year, right? Yeah, in 21, got up as high as $14.75, 84 cents, my bad. And so again, it just fits the mold perfectly of a project that just wasn't able to clear previous all-time highs during the next bull run. So this would be another one to avoid. Is EOS going to zero? Probably not. They have a community. They're still doing a bit. They just, moved to, I guess it's called Antelope or whatever. But at the end of the day, not something that I would invest in. Probably something to short, So, for example, if EOS during the next huge, bull run, it's probably going to do something like this, right? Where it has this huge wick up, and then before you know it, just like a week later, it already lost about 40% of its value. I mean, what an easy short that is. 40%, are you kidding me? Say you use, 10x leverage, you just forex your money in like a week. It's incredible. So just something that I wanted to kind of cover, because we all have these types of projects that we'll probably always keep an eye on, just because it was one of the first projects that we were basically kind of like, attached to in some kind of way, right? Emotionally, because it was one of the first projects that you made a ton of money with. But just know that those are not going to be good ways to optimize your profits come the next bull run. So apply this to some of your projects, and you'll probably be happy that you did. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this week's episode. I will be doing a couple videos during the week. There's a couple of ideas that I wanted to share with you guys. And we'll see how it plays out. Let's see if BTC does what the indicators kind of imply that it's most likely going to do. And let's see if it presents some nice little opportunities to have some profitable trades. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching, and keep in touch. And if there's a project that you want me to cover next week, just put it in the comments, and I'll be more than happy to cover it. All right, guys, take care.